Greetings to you. Let's start with a simple question. Are you really sure that cryptocurrency is anonymous? Most people answer yes. But reality, as is often the case, is a bit more complex. Bitcoin, the first and most famous cryptocurrency, is often seen as a tool for anonymous payments. In fact, Bitcoin is one of the most transparent financial systems that has ever existed. Every transaction is recorded in the blockchain forever. Anyone can open a blockchain explorer and see how many funds are at an address, when transactions occurred, and where funds moved. If even one address can be linked to a real identity, the entire financial history of that address becomes open. And this is not a theory. Today, there are entire companies that specialize in blockchain analysis. They track transactions, build transfer graphs, and link crypto addresses to real people. The same applies to other popular networks. Ethereum, Solana, BNB chain, they all work on the same principle. A transparent ledger is convenient for security, but completely unsuitable for financial privacy. And that's exactly why a separate category of projects appeared in the crypto industry, anonymous blockchains. But before talking about NeoEX, it's worth understanding what solutions already exist. When it became clear that most cryptocurrencies are fully transparent, developers began looking for ways to restore privacy. This led to projects that many call anonymous cryptocurrencies. The most famous of them is Monero. Monero uses a combination of ring signatures, stealth addresses, and hidden transaction amounts. This makes tracking significantly harder, but the system still has limitations. For example, Monero's infrastructure is harder to integrate with exchanges and services. Another well-known project is Zcash. It uses ZK Snarks technology, zero-knowledge cryptographic proofs. Theoretically, this provides a very high level of privacy. But there's a catch. In Zcash, private transactions are optional. Many users continue to use transparent addresses. This reduces the overall level of anonymity of the network. There is also Dash. Dash uses the private send mechanism. Essentially, it's a form of transaction mixing. But mixing is not full anonymity. It's just a complication of analysis. All these solutions try to improve privacy, but most are built on top of an architecture that was originally transparent. And here, a different approach emerges. An approach where privacy isn't just a feature, it's the very foundation of the system. This is exactly the kind of approach NeoEX aims to be. Now let's move on to the most interesting part. So what exactly is NeoEX? NeoEX is a blockchain built around the idea of total financial anonymity, not partial, not optional, and not something you have to turn on separately. We're talking about a system where privacy is the core of the architecture. The philosophy of NeoEX is quite simple. If a system is to be private, privacy must be built right into the network's foundation. Most modern blockchains operate on the opposite principle. They are built around transparency. In such networks, there is the concept of address history. Anyone can open a blockchain explorer and see the wallet balance, all incoming transactions, all outgoing transactions, and all contract interactions. In effect, an address becomes a public financial profile. Sometimes this profile can be analyzed for years, but in the NeoEX architecture, such a model simply doesn't exist. Transactions do not form a public history that can be analyzed. Addresses do not form transparent transfer graphs. In other words, in the NeoEX network, it's impossible to map the movement of funds. And this fundamentally changes the very nature of blockchain, because most modern blockchain analysis systems are based precisely on building such maps. Algorithms track links between addresses, build transfer graphs, and then attempt to reconstruct a user's full financial history. But when such a graph cannot be built, blockchain analysis loses its meaning. This isn't just a privacy improvement, it's a change to the architecture itself. That's why NeoEX is often seen as a distinct approach in the world of blockchains, an approach where anonymity is not a feature but a basic principle of the system. But to understand the scale of this idea, it's worth comparing NeoEX with other blockchains. Now, let's see how NeoEX differs from other blockchains. First, transaction traceability. In networks like Bitcoin or Ethereum, every transaction is completely transparent. Anyone can trace the path of funds from one address to another, sometimes even over many years. In the NeoEX network, this principle works differently. Transactions do not form a public chain of movements. This means that building a map of fund movements between users becomes impossible. The second difference is address history. In Ethereum or Bitcoin, any address can be viewed as a financial profile. You can see the balance, you can see past transactions, you can understand how funds move. In NeoEX, an address has no public history. A user's financial activity does not turn into a public archive. The third difference is blockchain analytics. Today, there is an entire industry of companies that analyze blockchains. They track transactions and build complex graphs of fund movements. But such systems only work where data remains transparent. In the NeoEX architecture, blockchain analysis does not allow extracting useful info about users. The fourth difference is privacy by default. In some cryptocurrencies, private transactions are just an option. The user must choose for themselves whether to enable privacy mode. In NeoEX, privacy is built into the protocol itself. It works by default. And the fifth difference is the system's philosophy. Most blockchains bet on transparency. NeoEX bets on privacy. And now a more fundamental question arises. Why is financial privacy needed at all? In the traditional banking system, financial information is considered confidential. Your bank balance is not published on the internet. Your payment history is not available to every person on the planet. This is perceived as a normal part of financial security. But in the world of cryptocurrencies, the situation turned out to be the opposite. Most blockchains have made financial data completely transparent. Every transfer, every balance, every transaction, everything becomes public. This creates a rather unusual paradox. Technology that was supposed to give people more financial freedom sometimes makes their financial lives more open than ever before. That is why interest in anonymous blockchains is gradually growing, not just among regular users, but also among businesses. Companies do not always want to reveal the structure of their financial flows. Investors do not always want to publish their transaction history. Sometimes financial privacy is not a matter of secrecy, it is a matter of security. And that is exactly why projects like NeoEX are becoming part of a broader discussion. A discussion about what the financial internet of the future should be like. Should it be completely transparent or, after all, private? Perhaps the real question is different. Don't we need the same financial privacy in the digital world that people considered normal for hundreds of years? Because technologies change, but the value of privacy remains. So, what do we have in the end? Most modern blockchains are built around transparency. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, they all work like an open financial ledger. Any transaction is recorded on the network. Any movement of funds can be traced. Any address can be analyzed. This creates a system where money becomes fully observable. But along with transparency, one important thing disappears: financial privacy. That's why projects have started appearing in the crypto industry that are trying to bring it back. Anonymous blockchains. But among them, there are different approaches. Some just complicate the analysis, others try to hide individual elements of transactions. And there are projects that go further. Projects that build architecture around the very idea of privacy. One such project is NeoEX, a system where privacy is not a feature, it is the foundation, where transactions do not form public graphs, where it's impossible to reconstruct the map of fund movements, where a user's financial activity doesn't turn into an open book for the whole world. And here a much more interesting question arises. The question is not whether the technology of anonymous blockchains exists. Such technologies already exist. The real question is different. Is the world ready for a financial system where privacy becomes the norm again? The history of technology shows one pattern. Every time a new control system appears, a new protection technology also appears. The internet gave birth to encryption, messengers gave birth to end-to-end message encryption, and transparent blockchains gave birth to anonymous ones. And perhaps right now we are witnessing the beginning of a new evolution of financial technologies, where privacy becomes a value again, where control is no longer the only scenario, and where the question of financial freedom comes to the fore again. Because in the end, it was never just about technology. It was always about choice, the choice between transparency and freedom. And this choice, as always, is ultimately made by society.